In this video, I'm going to reveal 6 reasons why absolutely everyone should learn screenwriting. Even if you have no interest in Hollywood, no interest in writing, or no interest in being creative for a living. Spoiler alert, screenwriting exercises the brain in some very unique ways that develop skills that you simply can't get any other way. Skills that are infinitely adaptable to every other area of your life. In fact, just learning about them in this video right here could change your life forever. Let's do this. Hello, my creative friends. If you're ready to stop writing for your bookshelf and start writing for production, hit that subscribe button, tap that bell, and make sure you don't miss a thing. Because you never know which one of these videos holds that one key you need to break through. Now, look, for most people who are far from Hollywood or don't really have any connection to the film industry, the idea of turning your thoughts and your imagination into something that could actually get turned into a movie or a TV show just seems so impossibly distant and unrealistic that it just seems like a big giant waste of time. See, most people think screenwriting is the act of sitting down and taking the idea you have for a movie and typing it out onto a page. And that's not really what screenwriting is about. What screenwriting is really about is taking the movie idea you have in your head and putting that movie into the imagination of people who can go out and make the movie. So it's a form of writing that has some very unique characteristics that make it unlike any other form of writing. Focusing on these 6 reasons helps you understand a wider perspective so you can start to see and use the skills that are unique to this craft and apply them in your real life, apply them to your screenwriting, and apply them to your own creativity. So let's jump in. Reason number 1 is that screenwriting expands your imagination. The human brain is a creativity engine. It works by mixing your sensory input, what you see and hear and taste and touch and smell, with your memories and your understanding of your prior experiences in life. So as you come upon a dangerous situation, your brain can quickly determine if this is dangerous enough to run or if you should stand up to the danger itself. Now, the only way it can make that assessment is by imagining different possible scenarios. And the only way I can imagine those scenarios is by referring to past experiences or deducing what may happen based upon the available data. Now, to create effective movies, we need to exercise our imagination. If the movies that writers write are simply the most obvious telling of whatever that story idea is, the audience is going to be 2 steps ahead of the writer. They're going to be very bored by the movie. It's very predictable. It was uninteresting. There was nothing new in that movie. So effective screenwriting is about developing your imagination so that you see beyond what the audience expects. As you work that muscle to create imaginary movies or TV shows, you begin to develop an ability to see different possibilities in the world around you. There's almost nothing in life that doesn't benefit from having an expanded imagination. It simply puts a bounty of possibility on the table in front of you. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but a lot of things exercise imagination. Why should I do screenwriting specifically? And I would say that leads us into reason number 2. Screenwriting gives you the power of story. Story is how we understand our world, and it always has been. Absolutely everything is a story. Take something innocuous. Look at the chair that you're sitting in right now. That chair has many stories associated with it. There's the story of how it came to be. Who designed it? Why did they design it to look like that? The story of how it got manufactured. Who made it? Why did they make it? The story of how you got it. How did it happen to be sitting in this room you're in right now? Was there love behind that? Somebody carefully handcrafted that chair? Or is it simply something off a factory line somewhere? There's a story behind the person who built it or the person who runs the factory. There's a story about how it got from where it was built to your room right now. There's even a story about how this chair will eventually be gone from where it is right now. All these different stories, and we're talking about a chair. Look around your room or the space you're in right now. Everything has a story. Everything is a story. When you understand story dynamics and learn how to pick the details that help you tell a story most effectively, this gives you the power to interpret your world and all the little details in your world far more effectively. Understanding story helps you design meaning in your communications with other people. It gives you a communication superpower. It is absolutely essential for every person on this planet because stories are how we understand one another. Stories are how we make sense of and interpret the world around us. But again, you might be thinking, yeah, but there are lots of different kinds of stories. Why shouldn't I learn novel writing, for example? And that leads us to reason number 3. Screenwriting tells its stories through visuals. You've heard it before, and you intuitively know it to be true, that human beings are visual creatures. It's not just that what we see retains more space in our brain, it's that the other senses that we have support the visual narrative. If you hear a car crash off to the side and then turn to see it after it's happened, your brain takes what you see and adds what you heard previously to deduce what you're actually looking at, whether that's what you're actually looking at or not. Now, because film is a visual medium, the screenwriter is very specifically focused on how to create pictures that tell the story and convey the meaning. And to do that, we have to be able to take a complex idea and simplify it, or take a meandering, nebulous situation and pinpoint those specific, dramatic visual moments that are going to convey the most powerful meaning. There's an old cliche that says a picture is worth 1,000 words. And that's because the human mind takes a picture and deduces and infers all sorts of meaning from it. And so what I like to say is that as screenwriters, we write pictures, those visuals that are going to say far more than the words alone ever would. With experience, you end up seeing your world very differently. You develop endless ways to convey your own ideas with simplicity. It's hard to overstate the benefits that you get from being able to identify compelling visual ideas or to simplify your ideas into something that will stick in the mind of another person. But this aspect of screenwriting alone is, I think, one of the things that makes it essential for almost everyone to learn how to do. In fact, I think maybe reason number 4 is going to make this idea even clearer. Reason number 4 is that all meaning is in the subtext. Look, the world very rarely says exactly what's on its mind. If I'm not exactly looking terribly hot today, you're probably gonna focus on that one thing that does look good to make me feel better about myself. Often, the way we convey that you're not looking your best is through subtext. We'll say something else that implies that you're not looking your best today. All effective stories have layers to them. There's the nuts and bolts of what's actually happening in the story. The guy is going to rob a bank, or the girl is trying to win the affection of the other girl, or the father doesn't quite know how to say he loves you to the son. But the way a movie story is told, if we simply said what the characters were thinking or feeling, it's going to be what we call on the nose. It's going to be very obvious, very trite, very cliche, because that's just not really how it happens in the real world. So to tell a movie story effectively, we need to develop the skill of conveying the subtext while engaging the audience with the details of the plot. When you practice designing subtext into scenes and stories, you begin to see that dynamic all around you. All stories have some sort of meaning to them, some sort of purpose. As an audience, that meaning will often wash right over you, but as a storyteller, as someone who develops the ability to be able to do that, it trains you to see and understand and even develop and design meaning, and to deliver that meaning with subtlety. And the ability to do this actually leads to the greatest skill of all, which is reason number 5. The job is to inspire creativity in others. See, the thing about screenplays is that they only exist to be turned into films. You're telling a story for audiences that someone else will make. Now, because of this, the words on the page are not just about telling a great story. They're also about putting that story vividly inside the minds of creative people like directors and actors and production designers, cinematographers, prop designers, location scouts, editor, visual effects supervisors, visual effects artists, marketing people, studio heads, actors. Did I say actors already? Directors. Yeah, directors, I'm pretty sure I said that first. The point is, the job of the screenplay is to draw all these people together to see a movie that doesn't exist yet. A movie that came from your imagination, and to be able to have a shared vision of what this movie is going to look like in a way that inspires the unique creativity that each of those people bring to the project. A screenplay has to be a complete story, but it also needs to leave room to spark the creative imagination of these incredibly talented artisans, so that the movie that we make is better than any one of our individual imaginations all by itself. So it's not only about telling a great story, it's about giving other people the tools to tell an even greater story. This is precisely what leadership is. When you truly understand and develop the ability to put simple, sparse words on the page that triggers and ignites someone else's imagination, you learn the dynamics and the fundamentals of being able to trigger the very best in anyone. It's natural synergy, and it's the essence of good screenwriting. Now, you might think some of these ideas are a little grandiose, or who am I to put myself in this kind of a position, or what would I benefit from having these skills? This hesitation is really what reason number 6 is all about. Screenwriting reveals and develops your originality. Look, every single one of us has unique DNA, which right out of the gate gives us entirely different windows on our world. Each one of us has different height and weight and ethnicity and hair color and skin color and eye color and a different shape of face. And so as we each move through the world interacts with us just physically in completely different ways, which gives each one of us a different perspective on the world. Now, add to that the fact that we each move through our world on a completely different set of space-time coordinates. We were each born at a different time, in a different place. Even if two of us took the journey together from start to finish, we would still perceive it differently because of how the world interacts with us based on our DNA. But when you add cultural considerations and generational considerations and the political climate of the era and the place and the country you were born in, this gives you a one-of-a-kind imagination that no one else in the history of time has ever had. You will see what no one else will ever see, and you will interpret it in a very unique way. This gives you a one-of-a-kind imagination that no one else can ever or will ever have. And that unique imagination gives you stories that only you can tell. This makes you, your writing, and your stories intrinsically valuable. When you exercise this originality by taking that unique imagination and turning it into one-of-a-kind stories, you'll truly discover that you don't just have one unique perspective, it's all a unique perspective. You don't just have one story, you have hundreds of stories. At your core, you have a window on the world that is unlike any other. It's probably the most empowering discovery you'll ever make. And this is why most writers or would-be writers fundamentally misunderstand the reality of this industry. The truth is, there is no competition. No one will ever create the stories you create in the way you create them. In fact, that brings us to today's bonus reason of why absolutely everyone should learn screenwriting. There is unlimited, untapped opportunity. Even with the same broad premise, no two writers will ever create the same story. Because we each have a unique imagination, because we each interpret things in different ways, because we each attach different meanings to different situations or series of events, if you learn how to do it, the stories you tell will be intrinsically different to the stories anyone else tells. If there are two great screenplays, there's no reason why both of them can't be made into movies. Look, the bottom line is, as long as movies are made, producers will always need fresh, original, unique, compelling, viable screenplays. We can literally make movies today anywhere on the planet for a tiny fraction of what they used to cost. And the simple fact is, there is a shortage of viable projects. Next year will be the best year for screenwriters in history. And I'll prove it to you. But this video is already running a bit long, so why don't we do that in the next video in this series? Click here for 6 reasons why next year holds unlimited opportunity for screenwriters. Thanks for watching. We'll see you there.